All right, ready to jump in. Today, we're tackling how the Army uses information to its advantage, straight from ADP 313, focusing on the enable activity.
Yeah, this one's all about how the Army stays ahead of the game in the information age, how they use what they know to win.
So we're talking modern military strategy, how information shapes the battlefield. It's like building this, I don't know, this network of people and tech and processes, all to create this clear picture of what's happening in real time.
It's a huge deal. And ADP 313, that's where it all starts. Right off the bat, they quote Sun Tzu, know yourself, know your enemy.
Timeless advice.
Because that's what Enable is really about, understanding not just what the enemy's doing, but why, what they're aiming for, how they're using information themselves.
And because information, it's not just for making decisions anymore.
Right.
It's a weapon in itself.
And Enable gives the Army the playbook for using that weapon effectively. It's about having the right information when it matters to make the best calls, and a big part of that, having a solid command and control system, your C2.
More than just radios and computers, I'm guessing.
Way more. We're talking people, the processes, the whole structure that keeps information flowing smoothly from the front lines up to the top. You've got your staff sections, the experts, intelligence, operations, logistics.
So those are your specialists.
Exactly. And then you have your command post cells, kind of like these hubs, where folks from different sections come together either by their specialty, their warfighting function, or by what time frame they're focused on.
So it's about having the right people with the right expertise at the right time to handle whatever pops up.
Exactly. Think of it like, I don't know, a well-drilled team, everyone with a specific role, but working together towards the same goal.
That makes sense, but man, all those moving parts, it seems like it could get pretty chaotic, especially in the heat of the moment.
And that's why ADP 313 is so big on having a really clear operations process.
So more than just a checklist then.
Oh yeah, it's a dynamic framework. Make sure everyone's on the same page from the get-go. From planning all the way through to actually doing it, and then assessing how it all went. And a key part of that is something called running estimates.
Running estimates. So is that like a constantly updated picture of the situation?
Exactly. I mean, in the middle of a mission, everything's changing, right? Enemy movements, where your troops are, weather, the whole 9 yards.
Trying to hit a moving target, basically.
Perfect analogy. That's where running estimates come in. Each staff section keeps these constantly updated assessments of their area, gives commanders the most up-to-date info they can get.
So everyone's working for the same playbook, even as it's being rewritten in real time.
Right. And to prevent information overload, ADP 313 talks about these commanders' critical information requirements, CCIRs.
Okay, break that down for me. What are CCIRs and why are they so important?
Imagine you're a commander, right? You're getting hit with information from all sides. Intel reports, what's happening on the ground, logistics, everything. CCIRs, those are your way to cut through the noise and zero in on what's absolutely vital for making the big decisions.
So like a filter for your brain.
Exactly. And within those CCIRs, you've got your PIRs, those are priority intelligence requirements. Those are focused on the enemy and the operational environment. And then you have FFIRs, or friendly force information requirements. Those give the commander a clear picture of what their own troops are capable of.
Makes sense. Need to know your own team as well as you know the other guys. But how do you keep all that organized, especially in the middle of, well, everything happening at once?
That's where the common operational picture comes in, the COP. Think of it like, a live, interactive video game of the battlefield, except real. You can see where your troops are, where the enemy is concentrated, what the terrain looks like, all of it, updated live.
So it's like this constantly evolving map that everyone can see and understand no matter where they are. That shared understanding must be huge, especially when things get intense, and clear communication is everything.
You got it. The COP is all about maintaining that shared awareness, cutting down on confusion, making sure everyone's on the same page, even in the thick of it. And it's not just about, say, preventing friendly fire, though obviously that's critical. It lets leaders at every level make smarter decisions, coordinate better.
So the COP, crucial for knowing what's what. But what about coordinating with other units, maybe even forces from other countries?
That's where liaisons come in. They're the links between different units, organizations, even countries, keeping communication smooth, making sure everyone's cooperating and on the same page.
Like ambassadors embedded within different groups.
Exactly. And even more important when you have multinational forces, everyone with their own ways of doing things, liaisons help bridge those gaps and maintain that unity of effort, which is key to success.
Sounds like they play a big part in building trust, too, those relationships that can make or break a mission.
Absolutely. And ADP 313 gets into that, the whole idea that wars aren't just won with tech and tactics, but with people working together. But it doesn't stop there. Remember those integrating processes. Think of them like your tools for turning information into action. That's what we'll dig into next time.
Back for more on ADP 313, Enable. We've got the command structure, we've got a handle on the battlefield, but the modern battlefield, man, it's a beast. How does the Army wrap its head around all the moving pieces, the what-ifs?
That's where ADP 313 really shines. It lays out how to analyze the operational environment, not just looking at a map, but understanding the whole chessboard. The pieces, the players, everything.
And they use these, what are they called, PMSI-PT and MET-TC-SNE, to break it all down. Honestly, to someone who hasn't spent their life studying this stuff, it's like alphabet soup.
I hear you. But think of them as frameworks. PMESET, political, military, economic, social, information, infrastructure, physical environment, and time.
So it's like taking a deep dive into every single aspect of the area, right? Not just enemy tanks, but the political scene, what's going on socially, even the terrain itself.
Exactly, because it all matters. And that's where METCI comes in. Mission, enemy, terrain and weather, troops and support available, time available, civil considerations, and, this is important, in parentheses, information considerations.
Okay, so two lenses, one for the big picture, one for the specifics. Looking through both gives you that clear understanding. But why is information considerations in parentheses?
Great catch. It shows how deeply woven information is with all those other factors. Not just another thing on the list, but the thread that connects it all. I mean, knowing the terrain matters, right? But knowing the enemy's comms networks in that terrain, game changer.
Like they say, information is power, but on a whole other level now.
Yeah.
Social media, AI, cyber warfare, it's not your grandpa's battlefield anymore.
And ADP 313 gets that. It emphasizes identifying and analyzing all the relevant actors in this information environment.
Relevant actors, so not just enemy combatants.
Nope. It could be anyone or anything that could impact the mission. Politicians, community leaders, even social media influencers who can sway opinion. It's about understanding who holds sway and how they might use it.
So you're not just mapping enemy positions, you're mapping influence, understanding relationships, figuring out how different groups might react.
You got it. And it gets even wilder when you add in automated systems, especially AI.
Right, because AI, that's changing everything. Algorithms processing tons of data, seeing patterns humans miss, even making their own decisions. It's like something out of the movies.
Might seem that way, but this is the reality now. AI is everywhere, and it's getting smarter by the day. Autonomous drones, algorithms predicting enemy movements based on weather, terrain. Understanding how these systems work is crucial.
So it's not just outsmarting the enemy commander, it's outsmarting their algorithms too. A whole new level of strategy. But with all this tech talk, it's good to see ADP 313 still gets the human element.
For sure. Tech can crunch numbers, find patterns, but it can't replace gut feeling, creativity, that human judgment call. So a key part of understanding the operational environment is still being able to predict human behavior, even when those humans might be influenced by algorithms.
Okay, but how do you even begin to predict how someone or something will act, especially in a war zone? Sounds like fortune telling.
It's a challenge. ADP 313 pushes commanders and their teams to really dig deep into the motivations, thought processes, likely responses of those relevant actors, history, psychology, culture, even economics.
So not just knowing where the enemy is on the map, but getting inside their heads, figuring out what makes them tick.
Exactly. That's what lets you anticipate their moves, stay one step ahead, and get the job done while minimizing risk.
It sounds like the Army is putting a premium on well-rounded leaders, people who can think critically, see the big picture. But understanding the battlefield is only half the battle, right? How do you actually enhance command and control in that chaos?
That's where ADP 313 takes us next.
And we're back, wrapping up our deep dive on ADP 313 Enable.
We've covered a lot of ground, from information as a weapon to how the Army analyzes the battlefield itself. Time to bring it all home.
All right, so for our listeners out there, what are the big takeaways from ADP 313 that, honestly, everyone should keep in mind?
I think the biggest thing is that enable, it's not just some theory in a manual. It's how the Army operates in this day and age, you know? It's a whole shift in how they think.
Like recognizing that information is a weapon Just as powerful as anything else.
Absolutely. And like any weapon, you have to understand it, know how to use it strategically. That means the right people, the right training, and of course, staying ahead of the game with technology.
We can't forget about the human factor, though, right? All that
Yeah.
experience, that gut instinct, you can't just program that into a computer.
Exactly. ADP 313 is clear about that. Technology is a tool. It can process information crazy fast, but humans, we provide the context, the intuition, that ability to make judgment calls on the fly that can make all the difference.
That human element of creativity, thinking on your feet when the situation changes.
Exactly. And that's why ADP 313 is so big on always learning, always growing. It's about creating a culture where everyone's encouraged to learn new stuff, question what they think they know, and get better at understanding this information landscape that's always changing.
So not a read it once and done deal.
Not a chance. It's about always growing, staying one step ahead of the adversary. Knowledge, adaptability, knowing what's coming next. It's like a chess game where the board keeps changing.
Gotta stay agile, proactive.
And something else that stood out to me was how important it is to empower leaders at all levels.
That's where Mission Command comes in. It's about trusting your people to make the right call when it matters.
Because nowadays, you can't always wait for orders from the top, right? Things move too fast.
Exactly, waiting for HQ when you're in the thick of it, things changing every second. It's not realistic. Mission Command gets that. It's about giving leaders at every level, even the smallest unit, the freedom to assess the situation and act. So you're empowering your team, giving them the tools, the training, and then trusting them to get it done.
And that trust goes both ways. Your team has to know you've got their back, that they've got the freedom to make those calls without, I don't know, fear of getting penalized if things go south.
Building that respect, that shared understanding, that's huge.
It is, because sometimes the best ideas come from the people on the ground, the ones who are dealing with it firsthand.
That's a good point. So if our listeners took away just one thing from all of this, what would it be?
One thing. I'd say stay curious. Never stop asking questions, looking for new information, challenging what you think you know. There's so much information out there. It's the ability to think for yourself, to tell what's real and what's not, to keep learning and adapting. That's what matters.
I like that. Curiosity is a strategic advantage. Well, on that note, we're wrapping up our look at ADP 313 and Enable. It's been fascinating seeing how the Army tackles the challenges of today's battlefield.
It's been a pleasure, really.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time. But until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a curious mind.